Hey, Savannah.
Hello, Danny.
What's up?
You look like you're in a cave.
Man, I've been enjoying this dark room with the spotlight. I was like, this is better than blurring my background.
So what do you do?
What do you mean?
What do you have going on?
Oh, I'm in a dark room and I have like
A little spotlight.
a desk lamp right here.
You might be a genius.
Yeah, I was like, now I don't have to worry about what's behind me if I do this at night.
Well, mine's blurred. Although I don't think it's that. No, wait, let me see.
It's blurred. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to blur it back. It's a little mess. It's fine. I have a cool background for my work one, but I don't have time to put it on here.
Oh, I was thinking about taking a picture of my office from the computer camera and having that as my digital background.
You're so clever. Dr. Yates cracks me up because his is like this scene looking like it looks like you're in an office, but you're also looking out a window. I'm like, it just looks very zen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just in general need that.
Yeah, it's like an Instagram room.
Yeah.
I hung out with your buddy Jay this afternoon.
Oh, did you?
I did the Kentucky Writers Roundtable podcast.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
It was, I think we've rescheduled twice. So finally.
I've yet to give them a date. I'm sure Kevin Nance wants to hurt me.
Yeah, I really I hadn't met Linda Bryant before. Do you know her?
Oh, no, I don't.
I really liked her questions.
That's
and like
good.
The stuff that she had to say. I thought she was great. And she also recently won the KSPS poetry prize. Can't remember if it was maybe the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice to see Jay in person. I hadn't seen him in a while.
Oh, I love him.
He's so great. I wish that he was, I don't know, the other two were talking a lot and I was like, I want more Jay. Jay questions. You know what you're reading?
Well,
you're gonna get him
to I'm trying to finish one right now.
You're writing a poem right now?
Yeah.
Is this how you roll?
I mean, you know, I do everything last minute, so
that's crazy.
I have 2 new ones, but I wanted 3, so I'm trying to.
Damn. I think I wrote like 3 poems this whole last summer.
Oh. I mean, I have not been writing poems, and so I feel the pressure.
It's nice. It's nice to have a purpose to write towards.
I pitched an essay to Lit Hub today.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
We'll see.
You heard anything about your fiction?
So I'm getting ready to pitch a bunch of agents.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I need to find a day where I can just do it. I have a peer reviewer who's going to read the whole novel in January. And so I would like to try to, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe pitch agents before then, but also I don't know.
You have the whole thing done, or
no?
That's your deadline.
I'm almost done. Yeah.
Damn.
Although I'm gonna see what the peer reviewer says, so we'll see. I don't know. I'm gonna have a crappy first draft, but yeah.
That's what first drafts are for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so I have been super busy today, obviously, because I did that podcast. I had an advising appointment. I did the podcast, and I came home and I have this tonight.
I had
Like,
student
so
conferences and 3 people didn't show up.
ridiculous. How rude.
So I'm annoyed.
But I'm just gonna read some of the stuff that I wrote for your KFW application.
Okay.
I was like, I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. Mm. Finishing up that poem.
Yeah.
I guess I need to ask you some questions about your process.
Okay.
So, I was thinking, oh, Jay McCoy's here. Like, should I just let him in?
If you want to. I may mute for a couple minutes while I wrap this up.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Okay, we got 3 people in the waiting room. I'm gonna get some water. I'll be right back. It was really easy for me to come up with questions. for you. I was like, I already know you. So it's super easy for me to just be like, here's some poetry questions for my friend. All right. I'm going to let him in. Are you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
All right. Awesome. Hello and welcome to the Kentucky State Poetry Society's featured reading. I think that's reading series. It has an official name that I'm just probably not getting. It's late. It's after 8 p.m. My name is Danny Kentos. I am the president of the Kentucky State Poetry Society. And today our featured reader is Savannah Sipple. Let's see, just to make sure I get everybody in here. I might give folks just a few more minutes to join before I introduce you and read your bio and all that good stuff. So I might wait till 8:03. Hey, Kathleen. Hey, Mary.
How's it going?
It feels later than it is because it's cold and dark.
Dark. The dark does it for sure. I think you're right. I almost wasn't able to get to do this tonight, but my laptop is just keeps screwing up. I think I'm gonna have to get a new one. I hate that because every time you get a new one, it seems like you lose stuff when it transfers over. So I really don't want to do it, but I mean, it took me probably 15 minutes to just get here. Get to the Facebook where I got the link. So it's maddening.
Kind of like buying a new car where it's you don't want to do it, but you have to do it.
But you have to. But I just, I can't. This is frustrating. And it just happens all of a sudden. It's like, well, what really happened is I filled up my email account and it wouldn't take any more emails. So if anybody's tried to email me, you get the message. Yeah, the message that it's full.
I did.
Oh, God. So I went through and I deleted. And still, it's like it screwed up my entire laptop then. And so now I just now see I have 8 emails. So something has changed because the last 2 days it's been unresponsive. So I don't know. Enough to pull your hair out. But I did want to miss this.
Yeah, definitely.
So I thought, I even asked, I poor Sarah, I called, I sent her a text. I said, help. Can I do this by phone? Well, you can if you have the Zoom app on your phone, which I don't. And I thought, I don't want to put that on my phone. I just didn't. So I tried it again. And this time it got me here. So I don't know.
All right, I think we're going to get started. So it's 8:04. Welcome to the Kentucky State Poetry Society featured reading series. Today, our featured reader is Savannah Sipple. Let's see. Let me see. Can I do this? Oh, I'm going to spotlight myself and then I'll spotlight Savannah. Still figuring out the Zoom webinar thing. If I can ask everybody, all the participants, to please mute yourself so that we're just hearing the poet read her work. We have a reading series every month. What is it? The third Tuesday of the month at 8 p.m. Every other month, there is an open mic for KSPS members. And then on the other months, it is a featured reader. And so this month, our featured reader is Savannah Sipple. And let me tell you a little bit about Savannah. So I'm going to read your bio, Savannah. Savannah Sipple is the author of WWJD and Other Poems, Sibling Rivalry Press 2019, which was included on the American Library Association's Over the Rainbow recommended LGBTQ reading list. Oops, sorry, just lost my thing. I had to admit somebody into the room. It explores what it is to be a queer woman in Appalachia and is rooted in its culture and in her body. A writer from East Kentucky, her writing has been published in Salon, Go Magazine, Southern Cultures, Split This Rock, and other places. She is also the recipient of grants from the Money for Women, Barbara Deming Memorial Fund, and the Kentucky Foundation for Women. A professor, editor, and writing mentor, Savannah resides in Lexington with her wife. And so that's Savannah's bio, just so you have a little bit of background information about who she is and where she's from. I am lucky enough to know Savannah on many different levels. She is my colleague. We work together. She is also a good friend of mine. She is married to one of my other friends. So I've known Savannah since, 2017. Around then. And I'm just going to read a little excerpt from a letter of rec that I wrote for her. And I think that this is a pretty good introduction to whet your appetite before we hear Savannah read. Savannah Sipple teaches me every time I read her work, whether she is writing poetry or prose, fiction or nonfiction, she can't help but show you something. How is it that words on a page can have such a twang? How is it that her voice can be funny and biting and haunting at once? Her work is all of these things, but is also distinct and bold. Kentucky and all of us really need stories and a voice like hers. If we are committed to social change, it is important that characters like those in Sipple's writing are represented in all their complicated and multifaceted glory. Her writing makes space for those who might have been made to feel invisible, too big, too loud, too much. Sipple's work is whip smart and might sting a little the way rubbing alcohol cleans a wound, a necessary hurt. If her published poetry tells you anything, it is that she has an incredible command of language. She can bring a voice to life on the page. She can make her reader feel something. So please join me with silent Zoom applause in welcoming Savannah Sipple.
Thank you, Danny. That was very kind, all of that, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you to KSPS for inviting me to read. I'm really happy to be here on this chilly October evening. So one of the things that I want to do this evening is, because my book has been out for a few years now, I want to read some of the poems from the book that I don't often read. And there are a multitude of reasons for why I don't read some of them. I think the main one would be that sometimes you feel like you get your best hits going. And I don't think that's necessarily true in terms of like what I'm going to read tonight aren't my good poems, but you often rely on the poems that you think your strongest reading. I feel like I do anyway. And I often try to like read from all three parts of my book. And so I'm going to just try to read some ones that I don't often read. Maybe you've heard these, I don't know. But these are the ones that I feel like maybe don't get quite as much attention. And so I'm going to start with it is called Baby You're a Blight. And I'll share some poems from the book, and then I have a couple of newish poems, so we'll see. Baby, you're a blight. Your silks Those thin, sweet strings stick to me, get caught in my hair. Days later, I find them clutched to the canning stove, stuck to my bare legs, bare back, the back porch where we fucked, unhusked our skins where no one would see, tried to keep from trailing them through the house. You take what you want from me, say you're full as a tick burrowed in a hound. Your grease coats everything you touch, smudge black on my skin, my clothes, the door. Later, you'll round on me, scream, I'll beat your ass. You grab and don't let go. Leave your prints even when you're clean. You're sorry. Again. I let you peck me like a crow plucks corn, newly planted, fertilized straight from the ground. You work hard, want reward. You tell me in the early morning, forget to use your finger to see if I'm warm. Your ear rot molds me in place. I can't leave by my own front door. This one is called Pass Back. It's pass//back. When I was 4, my mother left me at the nursing home with my grandmother and told her not to feed me. But I was hungry or complained I was, so Granny bought Cheetos. A damp orange crumb glopped on my crisp white shirt. Before she could pick it off, I swiped and spread it, and my mother let in about how I didn't need to eat anything at all. Look at her. Look at her shirt. Constantly, I check my back to make sure it's not too fat. My back looks fat if my bra is too tight. A 2-pack of extenders cost $8. If I size up, it'd mean a bigger cup, and I do well to fill these C's. Even Lane Bryant has its limits. A girl that fat should have bigger tits. $8 can buy enough pinto beans to feed you all week. Wash pinto beans 3 times at least, pick out the gravel, soak them overnight. The fat leaves my feet and calves first. It arrives home to my belly, my thighs. I notice back fat. Even thin women will have a small paunch when they sit or slouch or bend. Fat spills out the back of bra straps on really big women or women who refuse to wear the bigger bra. Pressure cook beans for 10 minutes, throw in some fat back, the middling meat, then finish cooking beans on the stove. The soup's the best part. Soaked fat with pork flavor. Pass the cornbread. My first diet came in the 3rd grade. After we saw the doctor who had 2 charts, one for height and one for weight. If you make these changes now, you might be able to lose the fat and never look back. Biscuits are carbs, gravy is carbs, pass the blackberry jam, a carb. If it seemed I'd gain weight, Mother'd stare and purse her lips. She'd pick my favorite foods off my plate, say, I just want a bite, like she could swallow my fat away. When my 17th birthday came and the end of the liquid diet, I celebrated with a baked potato. No sour cream, no butter. She said, be careful so you don't gain back the fat. The only thing worse than having to lose weight was it coming back. I'd been eating cheeseburgers the whole 4 months, a midweek treat. On the weeks I ate a cheeseburger, I lost 5 pounds. The weeks I didn't, I lost 3. Pass the pickles. Miracle Whip has 1/3 of the calories and fat of mayonnaise. It was Miracle Whip only in our house, and that stuff tastes like shit. I didn't know real mayo tasted different until I chose it on purpose in college. Pass the mustard. Pass peanuts that might make my face break out. Pass whole milk. Pass the milk fat. Pass chocolate. Also bad for my face. Pass brie, hummus, avocado, Greek yogurt, the sour cream, full fat. Pass potatoes mashed with butter. Pass the fatty fat butter. Pass it back around, the seconds. Pass marbled steak, olive oil dressing, homemade croutons. Pass fresh mozzarella, the pepperoni thick crust. My therapist says, where do you feel this trauma? The tears answer, always in my back. Boxing makes me feel beautiful because muscles contract under my back fat ripples. I'm always the first to offer to carry a heavy load for someone else. I grip the steering wheel a certain way so my flexor muscles pop. Can you see muscle, sinew to muscle? Backbones make the best taters. Pressure cook them together for 20 minutes and the meat will slide off the joints. That with those sweet, greasy taters make a meal fit for a working. I know what my back looks like from behind, pillowy. I have weird food habits. I save my favorites for last, and often by the time I get to them, I'm too full to enjoy them. I eat pizza with a knife and fork, cut my burgers in half, cut chicken meat from bones because it's gross to see a fat person enjoy her food. I carry shout wipes in case anything drips. Food stains on clothes are a shame. My favorite meal might be catfish and coleslaw, the salty fish with the slight hint of sweet in the slaw mixed with a kick of onion and a hush puppy. Or lasagna, the way tomatoes and spices bed together atop cheese and meat. Or fresh green beans and cornbread, or macaroni and tomatoes, mustard greens and salmon patties, taco salad, toast and eggs, baked buffalo chicken, steak, and sauteed mushrooms. I make a mean pot of chicken and dumplings and cornbread so good you don't even need butter. But a slice with molasses makes for a real good dessert. I want to be marbled so that if you were to slice me, you'd know what a good cut I am. You see this fat body? Bite it. Let me fill you up. Okay. This one is called, I text my friend one night, say I want to do something stupid. But what I do is order a double well drink at the bar before the poetry reading. The one I almost left because 45 minutes after I order my drink, ain't nobody read a single damn poem. But I go up to one of the guys who looks like he's from around here, but not from this bar. And I say, hey, are you Keegan? I want to buy your book. He's a cute guy with ice blue eyes and he hugs me. Because I want to buy his book, this grit lip poet feller hugs me twice, kisses my cheek, then sells me a book and signs it. I go home and eat skinny popcorn, catch up on Grey's Anatomy. What I do, coat my vibrator with coconut oil, force it to loosen me, vibration on high. What I do, cry because I'm afraid no one will ever love me. No one has ever fucked me, not that it matters, but on double well nights it does. On double well nights, I think about how I loved her and wanted her, and I wonder if she loved me at all. We slept curved into one another, her topless, me in cotton pajamas. I wish I'd put my mouth on her breast that night on my couch when I rained kisses all over her back, or even when she flashed me at the ocean, wave after wave of pink nipples. I wish I'd gone topless in front of her, only I kind of did, but it was months later. My back was jacked up and I didn't know why. No, it wasn't because I'm fat. She needed Tiger Balm all over my back. It felt so good. It hurt. It hurt so much I teared up. She saw my back fat and my side fat and probably even some belly fat. All I wanted was to curl against her, my cheek to her skin, close. I want to be close to anyone. I jump when anyone touches me. When my friend hugs me from behind as we cook together. When Keegan pecks my cheek after his reading. Even when I touch my own fat self late at night in the dark, I cry and repeat to myself, yes, love. Yes, you're worthy. This one is called an open response question about my parents' marriage. In at least 500 words, prove or disprove the following statement. I never hit her or went out on her. She had no reason to leave. This is called Rain. Love. The rain loves the oak tree slow, streams from top, soaks her wet drops over each leaf, runs damp hands down limbs, kisses chest bone trunk, sinks in her, quivers where drips slip, shivers as she slides way down to grass. Do you see how she saturates you? Watch droplet release drenched leaf, drown in the trickle taste. You love her, soft hair, lavender, the crook in her neck. Burrow there, slumber, kiss, lick, glide, grasp. Legs wrap around her, taste her salt, finally breathe. Okay, I'll read just a couple of more from the book. And then I will read a couple of new ones. This one is called WWJD on prayer. Jesus would stop talking to my father, who last threatened to hit me when I was 6. No 12, no 26. Who laughed when he screamed and I started to cry. Repeat. Laughed when I started to cry. Who heard me say, repeat. He heard me say, when he pinned me to the wall or the couch, do not touch me. He would touch me because I asked him not to. Repeat. I asked him not to. Jesus would say, let go. Throw yourself away from that. Jesus would take one look. He'd say, cut those ties. He'd say, for the love of God. And this one is called WWJD about love. You see her ass in front of you. Reach out. Cup her curves in your palm. Latch yourself there. Her hip a hinge. Her lips a door you want to open and visit. Not visit. Set up shop. You want to live there. You don't have to imagine you're male. You don't need a dick to be loved. Hold on. Her hip a hinge, her lips a door. Swing yourself into her love. Breathe deep through your mouth. Let her thighs hold you close. Okay, and I have one that I'm going to read that is not super new. It's not in the book. It was written after the book was written. And then I have 2 or 3 that are really new and really rough, I think, but I'm going to read them anyway. So this one is called The Sounds That Wake Me. I'll tell you what, Papa was a drunk, the sweetest man alive. Sober, a good husband, a loving father, he worked hard regardless. But I've never heard tell if he was able to keep a job or if the family moved because of his drinking. On a binge, he beat Granny. He'd come home at 2 a.m. and beat her, and she'd have to fry chicken or fix something for him and his friends, her brothers, to eat. He beat her with his belt. My mother says she can remember the snap. I wasn't there, but I can hear it too. The way it caught the back of Granny's legs, the way she whimpered, don't. I can see the thin cotton layer of her nightgown that may as well not have even been there. I hear the snap too almost every day. It's the same crack I heard when my brother and I tore his bedroom door off the hinges. He was 9 and I was 14, and he went to shut his door as I pushed against it. Hinges cracked loose from frame. I heard the clap of my father's recliner as he jumped up, screaming, but I didn't know what had really happened until I felt the smack of the broomstick against my back. He got in 3 or 4 swings before I escaped to my room. I don't remember how many times he hit my brother, although surely he did, just as I'm sure my mother made him stop hitting us, but they were both mad about the damage we'd done. I can laugh about it, I was 14 the last time I got a spanking. Good God, I was too old, but I really wasn't spanked that often. It's true. I tell it and laugh the same way my father and his brother laugh about how Mama beat them for good measure. My father was so mean, she put a dog collar on him, kept him chained to a tree in the yard so she could get her gardening done. They laugh about this and the way she beat my uncle too, 7 years older than my father, because he knew better and didn't stop my father from doing meanness. If anything, he egged him on. Back home, abuse was a joke, something akin to discipline and parenting. My father and his brother wore their beatings like medals pinned to chest. I don't think they ever stopped once to consider what kind of men they'd become or the ways they passed this trauma down. They would laugh at calling it trauma. They laughed at calling it abuse. Laughter like a leather belt snapping skin. Their laughter cracks when they tell the story, and everyone else has manners so good it keeps them from saying what's on their minds. My Lord. Most often I wake up because I think I've heard him, the floor crack or the door creak, or even worse, I wake because it's too quiet in the house. Too quiet in the house where I'm asleep in my dreams. I hear his laugh at the way I jump when his hand snaps back, fist raised. I hear the snap, the belt, the wood splinter, the laugh track, chain snap against tree, and I lie awake, waiting for the sting. Okay. This next one is really, really new, as in I still don't think it's finished. But I'm really interested in it, and what I'm trying to do in it, so I'm going to read it. It's called Things I Found in the Lap Lane at the Public Pool. Once it was all quarters. Their circles caught the sun just right and blitzed my eye. So somewhere around laps 8 and 10 and 12, I held my breath and dove to grab them. My nephews asked if they could use my found loot to buy candy from the snack bar. And I said yes. Said, get $1 out of my wallet, get something for your friend. They'd been playing with a kid who showed up when the pool opened, a Kroger bag of clothes in hand, to spend the day, he said. He might have been 10. That same day, we found an extra pair of goggles in my swim bag, so the nephews and the kid all had a pair. Around my hands when I swim, I often find hair, never my own, tangled in my hand paddles. It's gross, I know, but I tug and leave them to wash down the drain. Hair ties are plenty here at the pool where they tumble across the lap lane, traveling from diving board or the slide to shallower sides. I find earrings in their backs, never together, and sometimes a stray toy, usually a diving shark or ring that sunk and slid beyond the borders, too far out of little goggled eyes. I find sunglasses once and also lost a pair of my own, bobby pins, bits of paper, often a clothing tag. There are a lot of mediums in this water, a lot of loose hair, plastic beads, sunscreen caps. One morning I find a bullet, first the slug and then the casing. These I give to the lifeguard, and he interrupts my laps to assure me it was probably someone fooling around after hours. I know better. I think of my nephews, how we don't let them play with toy guns, and I think of their friend, the way his mom stopped by after a few hours and told him, wait for me, I don't want you to walk home alone. I nod my head to the lifeguard and finish my laps. 2 more. I have a couple of poems. I don't know if it's going to be a whole series. I don't know, but it's I've been thinking a lot about gender presentation and also my body, which is sort of a theme in my book. But I've been writing more poems that are focused just on that and what that means for me in terms of gender, but also as a queer woman. And so this is called Butch Buys Her First Snapback Hat. It's black with the word queen stitched across the front. Bars for the rainbow subtly ticked above the right ear. It will be months before she wears it in public, but the bill remains perfectly flat, straighter than she's ever been. When that hat finally makes its debut, Butch will tilt the bill slightly up, hold her head high, and look people in their eyes. Royalty. Every time she wears it, Butch will wonder if she should have bought the snapback that said king. And then this one is called I Almost Came Out to My Grandmother. Maybe it was the wheelchair, her labored breathing, or the way even talking made her tired. But I just couldn't tell Granny I was gay. The chance of losing her love was too much. 2 weeks after she died, I drove through downtown and had to pull over right then when I remembered all the things she'd never see. Most of all, me. Honey, I bawled. That day, I couldn't imagine the way love would unfold for me. Couldn't dream up the woman I was about to meet, or the way her smile stretches when she laughs, or the white dress, yes, dress, I wore on my wedding day. I couldn't dream it or see it or believe my body deserved the kind of love that holds you when you cry. I tell myself she'd love my wife, that they'd porch sit for hours, and I hope that is true. But also, I don't know. What I do know is this. Granny's patchwork quilt, the pieces loose, batting thin, is my wife's favorite. And when she asks for biscuits, I use Granny's recipe, serve them with apple butter, and whisper to the air, "This is who you raised me to be." Thank you all.
Thank you, Savannah. Let's see. I'm gonna be here with you on the screen. Yeah.
Okay.
That
Join
was
me.
amazing. That's so lovely. I love to hear your new work. Yeah, thank you so much. So I haven't seen any questions in the chat. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and I will ask Savannah. But I do have, Marianne Worthington has a question. I'm going to ask my questions and I'll come back to you, Marianne. And then at the end, maybe we can close and you could read one more poem if you don't mind at the very end.
Okay.
I do have a request.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes me feel less nervous about it.
Okay. So you kind of mentioned this in the beginning, which is funny because I already had these questions written out, but you talked about how, you kind of read the same poems over and over again. And so my question, and this is sort of inspired by my conversation with Jay McCoy today, are there any poems in this collection that you don't like to read or that you haven't read at readings? And what is it about those poems?
Let me look at my table of contents. I wouldn't say there aren't any that I don't like to read. Some of them sometimes can feel a little, I don't know that awkward is the word, but I do have a few poems that particularly are about my body they make me feel a little more vulnerable, I guess. And so Pass Back would be one of those. And this is going to sound like a complaint, but it's not at all. But I think the poem that has often made me feel most vulnerable is the one that is probably one of the most damn popular poems in the book. And it's the one that Ada featured on her podcast, which I was so grateful. And she had such wonderful things to say. But it was in The Word Was God.
Mm-hmm.
And so Split This Rock was interested in it when the book first came out, and it was probably one of the poems I felt very vulnerable writing, and it's one that I probably often, when I read it, I immediately go to the next poem. I try not to and so it just I think that anytime we open ourselves like that, we can feel a little nervous, but I don't think there's anything I don't necessarily enjoy reading. I do have the bingo poem, which is a little more difficult to, read and visually see.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, how do you, some forms, it's like, how is it how is it hurt? Like, how do you read it out loud?
I've done it before and it works okay. It's really, the bingo poem is a play on words that mixes words we associate with evangelism with also words that are part of queer culture. And so people tend to love the poem visually when they read it. So it's also, it can be hard depending on, you know, what type of reading you're doing.
Yeah.
If I'm working with a class of students, you know, they've probably read it or seen it. Whereas if I'm at a public reading where people may have not even picked up the book yet, it's a little bit harder.
I love that you read Pass Back tonight. I don't think I've heard you read that one before. And number one, a very long poem.
Very long poem.
Like poems that are long, I'm like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And second, hearing it out loud, it's like, it's such a different experience than on the page to hear kind of the many meanings of pass and also the many meanings of back, and how you kind of play with that language and you know, kind of dance around. I love that. So I loved hearing that one. Okay, I have another question for you, which is, as someone who is friends with your wife, that's me, I'm friends with your wife. I know that some of the newer poems in this collection are about her. So how does it feel to be a writer in love versus the other poems you drafted before you knew her? Or maybe like, how did being in a relationship and finding your person change your poems?
Yeah, so I met her when I was doing, the book had been accepted for publication, and I had gotten the first round of edits from the press, and I had also taken time to do like, were there any gaps that I saw or places I wanted to fill in? And so in the first 4 to 5 months or so of our relationship, I really was trying to fill in those gaps and also edit the book, and was thinking about the book at that point in terms of the progression that it is from being closeted to coming out to really being out and accepting that and what that means. And so meeting her and falling in love with her was something that I had not expected. First of all, and also that it felt to me like it needed to be in the book for there to be that kind of, not really that falling in love with her brought me to this point of acceptance, because I had gotten there, but falling in love felt like this almost hopeful thing that happens, because so much of the book is about really struggling to accept yourself, your queerness, your body, the place that you're from, the things that you've been through, but also like how do you've grown away from a lot of that. And so how do you even reconcile those complications and my complicated relationship with Appalachia? And so there's the poem near the end of the book that says, you know, Jesus shouts amen. And it's about my wife particularly, and about what it feels like to be in love with her. And it feels like being home. I do have a couple of poems that reference other relationships. And so before we were married and she was just my girlfriend, I had this disclaimer when I read a couple of the poems where I was like, this is not about my current girlfriend, or this is not about my fiance, you know. So she told me I better make sure people knew it was not about her, because she did not behave poorly. But I also, you know, I write about love in a lot of ways in the book, you know, my love for Appalachia, but also the ways that sometimes it also wasn't a healthy relationship. So
yeah, I feel like this would be such a different book if it weren't for kind of, I don't want to say character arc, because I've just been like thinking about fiction, but like that change, right? Like that there is a really big shift in the way that the speaker like feels about relationships, and then yeah, this kind of like joyous, and those poems get so sexy. I was like, I know this person. I'm kind of blushing a little bit. Okay, so I have another question. The opening poem in your book has the F word in the title. Can you talk about candor and the choice to lead with this poem?
So I probably reordered that first poem particularly multiple times. I do think that when I sent it to the press, it was the first poem. So when the press accepted it or said, yes, we want to publish it, if my memory serves me correctly, I'm 99% sure that it was the first poem. But I had a few different readers who looked at the book at different points or looked at various poems. And the book is not entirely chronological. But I was trying to think of it almost in terms of chronology of like what it meant to be closeted. And so a huge part for me being closeted was trying to be straight and hoping that something would happen that would make me straight. And so it felt like an important poem and an important thing to say from the get-go. Like it wasn't just, I think for me, it captured almost the degree of my shame, of my shame of being queer. And so, it's a risk to include curse words in your poems to begin with, much less one like fuck, particularly when your book is titled WWJD. But I also kind of wanted to like set the tone. Like
right off the bat.
I'm not gonna shy away from some of this stuff. And so I feel like it served that purpose.
Yeah. Okay, so follow-up question. Have you ever had somebody or heard of anybody making a mistake and thinking that this was like a Christian poetry book?
Oh God, yes. So 2 quick stories.
Because of the title.
When the book was accepted for publication, I don't keep in touch with a lot of people from my hometown. But I'm on social media at that point, especially. I was friends with a lot of folks who were still at home. And in my youth, I worked at a Bible camp in my hometown. And so one of the women who was a missionary there, who is, had been a mentor and was significantly older than me, but I had been close with for a while at one point in my teenage years. She messaged me to tell me how excited she was that the book was being published and she couldn't wait to get it. And so I get that message and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to tell her. Like, I just can't. So I was just like, oh, thank you. That's very sweet. Because at that point, it was still going to be like a year or so before it came out. And so I thought, well, maybe she'll figure it out between now and then. And if she doesn't, I'm
book sale.
I'll see if she messages again, And then there was a bookstore recently that I was talking to them about wanting to give them a few copies, and they told me they weren't sure that religious poetry would sell. And so I was like, so you really didn't read much else beyond the title. That's okay. It's fine. So yeah, it's happened a couple times, not as much as I actually thought it might, or at least that I know of, but it has happened.
I mean, like that F word in the first poem, when somebody opens it up, they got to know like right away. There's no fooling anybody once you open the book.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read Marianne Worthington's question. She said, by the way, Sav makes wonderful apple butter, which I know firsthand as well. What writing projects are you working on now beyond what you shared tonight?
So I'm writing mostly fiction right now. I don't know why I'm so dramatic about it, but I'm writing a novel. And I keep telling everyone, I hope that it eventually lives up to the hype I'm trying to give it, because I keep telling everyone it's the queer softball novel of their dreams.
I love it.
But it's about a summer league softball team. And And the girls on the team have known each other. They've grown up together. One of them is gay, terrified to come out. And part of why she's terrified to come out is because they had a coach who was outed and who was subsequently like banned from anything related to kids or softball or anything else. And so it's about that feeling of feeling like you can't come out because it's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
Religion plays into it. It's a very religious community. But it's also very much about the friendship between 4 of the girls. There are 2 narrators in the book. They're like the closest to each other, the closest to on the team. But there's really this group of 4. And so it's about the friendship of teenage girls, is a huge part of it as well. And so I'm working on that. And then I'm working on a few different essays for a couple of different things. I'm a very sporadic, I do freelance stuff sporadically with essays. So, but yeah, the novel's the big thing right now.
I mean, it's yeah. I'm like, what, a novel? That's so many pages.
It's so many words.
so
many words. Like I will write and write and write, and I'll feel like, oh, I've gotten so much done. And I'm like, oh my God, this is 5 pages. That's all. Or, like I've had a couple of pieces workshopped and stuff, and inevitably, the workshop leader or the mentor I'm working with is like, I know that in poetry you're very economical with language, but you have so much more room with prose. And I'm like, I'm using room. Like, don't you see it? So it's
I didn't break any lines. What are you talking about?
I know. So it's interesting. It's fun in a lot of ways. Fiction, I think, intimidates me more than anything, but it also is an idea that started as a very short story, and it won't go away. The characters won't go away. They keep growing. And so it's like, I'm gonna need to do it. So I'm doing it.
It's calling to you. Mary Allen has a question. She said, I'm fascinated by the comment you made that some of the language of the evangelical community is found in the queer community. Can you give a couple examples? Oh, and then she said, you just did.
Well, and so in the poem, for example, like, and this isn't probably all of them, but like, so the word submit, because you have like women should submit to their husbands and all of this stuff, but then like in the queer community you have this idea of submissives and more dominatrix or doms, and the word bear is also one, because it's, you bear children, bear the fruit of the Lord, but then there's also bears in terms of gay men. And so temptation and sin, tempt and sin are 2 of them as well. Born gay, born again. I have the term cross and dress next to each other in the poem. They're separated by prayer hands, which is also, but then, because cross has one connotation with religion, and then cross dress has a connotation with the queer community. And so like, I was really trying to play on the duality of language and how words can mean different things based on the context, and also try to mess with that context a little bit, blur those lines.
Yeah, so that makes sense. I was like, oh yeah, like just kind of grabbing them out of the air. Like that makes sense. Yeah, both of those things. And then Marianne has one more question. What queer writers in Appalachia should we be reading and studying?
Well, the first one I would recommend is Nima Avashia, and I hope I didn't mispronounce that last name. Her memoir, Another Appalachia, is fantastic. But then also there's a poet, Melissa Helton, who is wonderful. works at the Hyman Settlement School, has some really powerful work.
I think she was at the conference this year at the KSPS conference. I think I heard her during the open mic.
Misha Marin is a fiction writer who is wonderful. I would always recommend Jay's work as well. And Keith Stewart, who I hope finishes a new collection of essays soon, because his first one was, I mean, he's a comedic writer in many ways, but his essays are also very smart. It's a very intelligent humor. And so I hope that he keeps writing. I'm trying to think of who else, because I know I'm forgetting people, like probably, Jonathan Corcoran is another one. I love his work. Also, Silas's new book is fantastic. So I know I'm forgetting people, but those are my big ones right now.
Thank you. Okay. I have one more question. I'm just going to call you out for what you said to me before this reading started.
Oh, hell.
You just finished writing a poem right before this reading started. Do you
Yeah.
have any solid, surefire process that helps you write a poem?
Pure panic. I'm kidding. So I mean, sometimes, like, I know I don't have a sure process, to be honest. So I am not writing poetry as frequently. And so I did want to share some new stuff. And so the Lap Lane poem is the poem that I was working on finishing and trying to figure out how to end it. And I don't think it's probably finished completely or ended in any possible way, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I've probably been thinking about that poem since the day I found the bullet in the Lap Lane. And also what kind of form that poem could take, and the significance of finding a bullet in a public pool. There's a lot of things playing in my head about that. And so I wanted to have some version of that so I can start tinkering with it. Because for me, the best stuff, my best work happens in revision. And so poetry a lot of times comes to me in the form of a line or an image or something that I'm just constantly thinking about a lot. One thing that's happened a little bit more recently is that I have to decide if something's a poem or an essay. But I mean, I have a writing practice, but I don't necessarily have a surefire way for getting a poem going.
I just didn't know if you knew a special spell that I didn't know about.
I mean, I wish I did. I have the notes app in my phone is full of like little notes that'll say line for a poem or title for a poem. And I'm like, I'll think it's a genius thing when I put it in there, and that I'll come back to it. And then some of them I'll forget for months, and then I come back to it. And I'm like, what in the hell was I thinking? Like, what is this? And so then I have to try to remember. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. And so I have tried to, like, if I think of something or something hits me, try to draft something more than just, here's a line for you to remember in 6 months. Like, I'm trying to do better than that, but it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I have my request, and it's a short one.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you to read "And the Word was God" because
thank you.
The one right after it on page 57, WWJD at the bar.
Okay. WWJD at the bar. Jesus would take one look at her, suck in air, breathe out, damn, she's cute. Why you standing here, sis? Go talk to her. Ask for her number. Jesus would scribble his own, crooked on a cocktail napkin. Jesus would slide it her way, give her a slow wink. Say, I want to get to know you, honey. Let me buy you a drink.
Thank you so much, Savannah. This was a wonderful reading.
Thank you
Also
for having me.
enjoyed our conversation. It was so great. Thank you all. Thank you all for staying up late.
Yeah,
8.
thank you all for coming. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I believe our next reading series is the open mic that is in November, or the 3rd Tuesday of November. I don't know that date, but stay tuned. Come read at the open mic if you have poems you want to share. If you want to write a poem at the last minute and read it right before open mic, like Savannah style, you can do that. But thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful night. Thanks, Savannah.
Thank you.